In the world of the coronavirus pandemic across the country, we are good enough to be joined with head coach Chris Armas. You can see who my best friend is via our little lower third. That is Steve Jolley. I'm Matt Harmon. We're the crew, of course, for the New York Red Bulls radio network. And we should be talking about, Chris, what would have been a great return to Soldier Field for you last weekend. Would have been obviously a Red Bull win and get ready for an Easter Day showdown with Toronto FC. But instead, I'm in my house. Steve is in his. You were in yours. And this has just become crazy. First and foremost, you and your family, I'm assuming, holding up okay?
Yeah, we are. We are. You know, we keep talking about in my house trying to make the most of every day. And, you know, with that, it's there's hours to fill for the whole family. But, you know, I have plenty of work to do from home. So it's just adjusting what the work day looks like. But, you know, it's with my boys, 15 and 18 years old. So we're outside at different times. There's some basketball in the driveway. You know, the weather's been nice. So it's just about sometimes getting some fresh air. But yeah, just in general, making the most of it and really focusing on what we have and the positives. And yeah, for you guys, I hope the same. For all the listeners, it is a time to take a step back, really focus on listening to all the mandates and staying home and staying safe. So yeah, that's what we've been doing.
We had some fun getting ready and putting this together. Steve, you were really trying to occupy what would have been the bigger square. We've gone with a very diplomatic approach. Everybody is about the same size, though on my screen, at least, you have the little Red Bull logo.
Yeah, I know.
You've become very official.
It's alumni logo. You haven't got it yet. I'm sorry. Until you play for the team, you got to get the alumni logo, right?
Ouch, that hurt. You're hitting below the belt, right?
Already.
Coach, you know, you talk about trying to stay busy day in and day out. Have the two boys, have they almost become a part of your practice plan? Like, are you using them to maybe demonstrate some stuff, keeping them fit and obviously keeping yourself sharp in terms of just coaching?
No, look, those guys will peek over my shoulder. I'll show them some different things that I'm looking at, some different videos. There's been some interesting footage to you know, in this time to take a step back and look at some things I don't always get to look at. So, for instance, it could be a Manchester United game versus Man City, which they're interested in that up high footage. It's really cool for them to see. You know, I'll talk to more my 18-year-old. He's up later at night, and from 9 to 12 ends up being a nice time also to because there's work during the day, and then I can take a few hours around dinner time and even before dinner where we can hang out a little bit, and then I get back to work a little bit. And he's always up late, so he'll say, "Hey, what are you working on, Dad?" And we'll start talking about it. And he's pretty smart. You know, person and soccer person. He sees things in a good way. So we'll talk about some different ideas and some attacking things and even defending. So it's cool to bounce things off the family sometimes, just a pure perspective. And yeah, it's been some cool time that I've been able to spend with them.
Well, one of the things that I've noticed, and you mentioned about, you know, video, I don't know if you're aware, but the Red Bull has been sending out like team trainings and individual trainings for young kids in their academy programs. And then you can sign up online. I did. And now I'm in week 2. They have level 1, 2, and 3. I've mastered level 2. Haven't mastered level 3 yet. I'm getting a little slippery with my touch, but fortunately for everybody out there, Matt Harmon is an advanced beyond level 3 now. But and all joking aside, if you're watching this, you have young kids like I do, 8, 10, and 12, sign up. I'll do a little plug for them because it's absolutely amazing what they've done in terms of, you know, separating little video segments for different skill levels and everything like that. It's been incredible that what Red Bull has done for the younger people or the older people who would like to start playing a little bit of soccer in the backyard again.
It is cool that they've put out those videos. I've seen it, you know, stay active, stay sharp on the touches, give you something to do. And yeah, it's been good.
Yeah.
Chris, it seems like Steve is always trying to figure a way onto the roster. It's another shameless plug to see if he can have some sort of comeback somewhere along the way.
Listen, he's Steve's a worker and he's serious, so I wouldn't put it past him. And
I'm 17 days straight of running. I got to get out there. It's my stress release program. It's the slowest 2 miles you've ever seen in your entire life. It's sad, bordering on sad, but I'm getting out there and moving and keeping my distance still. I'm moving to different sides of streets of people. So I'm doing what I can do.
I'll stick with what I have said. For 10 minutes, the most important 10 minutes at the end of a game.
Get me in there.
I'll trust you.
I love it. I love it.
You know, how much fun you guys are both perfect to talk about this with. How much fun have you each had in what's been obviously a different and stressful time with Major League Soccer talking about the 25th anniversary, going back and watching some of the old games, the players that both of you used to play with and against, because there's been some great footage, whether it's been full games that have been on TV, whether it's been things that have just been shared on social media.
Jolley, you?
Yeah. Well, unfortunately for you, I think they showed the 96 final versus DC United and LA Galaxy last night on TV. So I apologize for you having to rehash that one. Fortunately for me, I came in a year later and, didn't have to suffer through that last goal moment by Eddie Pope.
Oh, my gosh, I know.
That was a tough one. But it has been fun, at least on my side, because what happens more often than not, it's me reminding my kids that, certain players and quite frankly, last night, both my oldest daughter and my son were watching the 96 final, and I was able to show Mr. Armas, and that Mr. Armas isn't some old guy that, coaches the Red Bull anymore. He's actually, one of those like sprite guys in the center midfield running, chasing people down, almost, as I said, Tyler Adams-esque. Back there in 1996.
Look, it's well, thanks, John.
Not as agile, but sort of like Tyler Adams.
Yeah, look, it's been it's been pretty cool, like even we were outside playing basketball, and my one son, my 18-year-old, went inside around 6:00 and I didn't realize it, but he wanted to watch the game, and we were recording it. My wife recorded it, and I had never sat and watched the game, and I didn't yesterday, but we watched the second half together, like it was during dinner time. But it's kind of cool looking back and seeing some of the great players when you look around the field, and whether it's Agus, Pope, and Echeverry, or on our team Cienfuegos and Kobe and some of the guys that are still giving to the game. Again, Agus in the league, and Vanny, Robin Fraser. My head coaches, Kalishman, wasn't able to play that day. But when you look around the field, there was a lot of good going on back then. So, yeah, I scored the second goal of that game with I think 30 minutes to go, and I shut the TV off, so I think we won 2-0. It's 8 minutes and 50-something seconds left. We're winning 2-1, and 8 minutes away from a championship. So, you look at the game now with the different eyes, and different emotion, and you wonder, you wish you could have, been talking to yourself back then. What can you do different as a team and individually? And you just understand in that game is just a reminder that every play matters, every second matters, every clearance, So it was cool to take a little bit of a look there, we got close, but we got back in 98.
Yeah, I know.
So
if I remember correctly, you beat us in the semifinals in 98, so I appreciate that. But you're remembering you saying that you've never watched the 96 final. I can say the same thing about the 99 final. I have yet to watch, when we lost to DC United as well, the 99 final. I just don't want to even look at it. I don't want to think about it. You talk about clearances. Poor Kevin Hartman and his clearance in the 99 final. I don't have any interest whatsoever ever watching that game again. So that's interesting that you said that as well.
Yeah, the 2000 final was interesting too. We lost to Kansas City. Again, I was with Chicago, and you look at the team we had, and we had 20-something shots that day, and Miola, the goalkeeper on the other team, was the MVP, and it just wasn't our day. But the margins are so thin, and I know that. I've always known that. And the difference between winning and losing, it often comes down to a moment or a play, in that moment of truth. So, it's much of what has kind of molded me and what guides me these days, in how we prepare and how we look at all the little details and try to get the guys to understand what we know.
Yeah, tough.
It's not so easy, but I do think we have a group that's bought in, and it's been really cool. Again, I never watched that 2000 final, but my son was watching it a few weeks ago, and I sat and watched it. And again, it's tough to watch, but it's actually enjoyable because I feel proud to have been part of some really good teams, and that I was able to carry my weight on those teams. And my son will ask me, "Dad, were you nervous? Weren't you nervous? How do you?" So even having those little discussions are kind of cool.
Yeah.
So it's been good.
Chris, listening to you talk about how things mattered back in the day when you were playing, it sounds as if you're going through right now a training session or a pregame speech, because the things that you learned as the player are the same things that you try and instill to your players right now as the head coach. Is it difficult for you sometimes to make that connection, or is it easier having the guys know that you were involved in so many big games back in your playing days?
Well, I think when you're a player, and you've been part of, being coached by good coaches and being taught by good teammates and up against good opposition, you end up having the knowledge and some good experience. And now, not every good player makes a good coach, because it's can we transfer that information? Can we transfer those experiences in a way that they're learning with some conviction, with some with the communication skills to do that, with patience, with the know-how. So it's valuable information that I'm always trying to pass on. And so it's not after I've watched those games now that I understand that. It's all the time, talking about the little things of the game. And I guess the thing we love most, or one of the things we love, competing and we love winning for sure, but helping players grow as people and as players. And again, it often comes down to the little things, and it's those things that, I guess, it's our job to take the players up to a place that they can't get to on their own. And I do think it helps when I can demonstrate, even nowadays, or to talk about the game in a way that they understand, that I understand. So it's even now when we're showing video to players, I'm not going to show Danny Royer, "Hey, Danny, let's point the toe down so you can maybe get it on target." It's talking about the little nuances of how to set up a defender on a cross, maybe to get a tap in, that if you're one half a step early or late, the goal will not come. And maybe using the inside of your foot there is better with maybe a 20% of a swing, because if you hit it too hard, it's going over. And you start talking about the little things that they know that we know. And then that helps the buy-in, and then the learning and the teaching, it all happens. But I remind myself, I'm only teaching if they're learning.
That's a good follow-up for me, Coach. When you think of it, and Steve, you can hop in on this as well. You guys came from that early era of Major League Soccer. Is it harder today to get players to buy into a given philosophy? And I don't even necessarily mean just with the New York Red Bulls. I mean, from both of you talking with other coaches from around the league, just the generation of today's player, how different are they from the players from 20, 25 years ago?
Jolley.
Yeah, no, I'll start. I mean, I think it all comes down to maturation more than anything else. I mean, I think Chris will agree with this in terms of there's only so many times, and you'll often find this. You'll talk to younger players, whether it be at the professional level with like Chris, or even at a younger level where you're doing youth, and you're constantly saying the same things over and over again. And it might be the way you're saying it, or how you're saying it, or the timing associated to what you're saying. That's really important. For me, when I think about, the league, and I might have my own personal opinions in terms of the quality of the league, because I think the quality of the league when it started was exceptionally high because there were so few teams And you think about, some of our first teams, Chris and I, there at the LA Galaxy, when you've got guys like Robin Fraser and Cienfuegos, you name it. I mean, we could go Kobe Jones, you name it. I mean, these are some of the, I think some of the best players in the history of our country. So, we had a luxury, I think. And I think, Chris and his generation, who are now the coaches, like Robin Fraser and Greg Vanney, why are they having so much success? I think it's because they know the league exceptionally well. They're extremely talented. And they can reiterate, I think, time and time again of, hey, if you just did this and did this at this time, and let me show you, I think that's the reason why I think so many players respond to ex-players so well. And I think Chris is a great example. I think, Robin Fraser and Ben Olsen. I mean, we can go on and on about, ex-players who, were exceptional players who are now taking it to another level as coaches. What I think would be really interesting is that, as Chris, you answer this question, can you kind of enlighten us a little bit in terms of, now that we're all doing our part to kind of flatten the curve and everything like that, how are you getting that specific message that you're trying to accomplish in kind of the video world that we're kind of now living in?
That's a good question. And to go back 1 second there, when you talk about the olden days of the league, and it just seemed to be that there was a different type of grit that was going on. And it wasn't that, like, even when you watched the game yesterday, that there weren't talented players on the field. And then last week when I'm watching the US-Mexico game from, I think it was 2001, the team just didn't give an inch. And it just, I think we had to fight so hard to get to where we got. And that became the foundation for who we were as players. And the guys coming through now, and if you look at Tyler Adams and Pulisic and the pathway that those guys have taken, that's not an easy way they've gone. And I think that's why they've done well. But I think it's been a shift in terms of, I think that the players are exposed to a lot more these days. They probably can talk more about the game differently than we do. Attacking phase, defending phase, different, the 4 phases of the game. There's a lot more information these days. And for sure there's talented players. But back in the day, there was, I think, just culture in our country and Major League Soccer. There was the roll up your sleeve that we were never going to give an inch. And I think that's not that we're not that today. That's who we were back then. Also with the Greg Vanney, the intelligent players, Robin Fraser, savviness, Kobe Jones, Cienfuegos, Metrovari. It was really interesting, makeup. Yeah. So now back to the other part, it's been interesting to see now how can we keep moving forward each day, each week as a team, where we thought we had a positive offseason. We think we had a productive preseason in terms of getting on the same page with training sessions, relaying information through video and, of course, training and communication and messaging. And then it comes to a halt. We start the season with a victory at home and then a tough point on the road that we battled for at altitude. And then it comes to a halt here. So how can we keep the fitness going? How can we keep the sharpness in their minds? How can we keep the spirit and the cohesiveness and the togetherness that we really were feeling, are feeling? And thankfully, like this video call here, we're able to stay connected. So in my mind, I'm just like always, I'm trying to get the balance right of how much to they don't want to see me every day. They don't want to hear me every day. But I know they're hungry too, and they can get bored, and that it's important the FaceTime. It's important the check-ins. You can check in with guys' mentality. How are they feeling? How's their mood? Are they going through some difficult things? I'm always reminded that as much as we think these superstars and these pro athletes these days, you don't see them as much as that. You see them more as they're human beings, and that means they can have the ups and downs, and they can be affected by this break in the routine. And some guys might be loving life, and some guys might be struggling a little bit more, which is important to have a close feel on the group that way. Therefore, it's regular conversations with Sean Davis, the captain, and I've spoken to each guy. Not like text messages. I've reached out to each guy on the entire roster multiple times just to make sure they know that they have support. They know that I'll drive 50 miles if I have to bring them a case of water or whatever is needed. But it's important they know that we're looking after them, and that's the most important thing. And then with the video, we're having some really interesting things going on with the staff and the players and myself with the players, little individual edits that we're showing guys. Imagine now, it's showing Matthias Jorgensen some maybe Aubameyang and his movements as a striker, or Mbappe movements in the box. And now imagine when you sit down as a player and I can share my screen, and then we're also having this 1v1 connection that I have a call today with Matthias at 2:00 to go over some different things, comparing him to Timo Werner from Leipzig. So, that's one way. And the players are getting to see, I call them 25 little things that I came up with a list, and not every little thing applies to every player. It actually, it's some of it's for everyone. Some of it's for attackers. Some of it's for defenders. Some of it's for sixes, and little nuances. It might be on an aerial ball, bumping someone to gain an edge without fouling. Little things that I think can really be interesting to the guys. So we've done some 1v1 meetings, and we've also done some unit meetings now. So attackers, which is really cool. To see Bradley Carnell and CJ Brown and Preston Burpo each run these meetings. I'm just chiming in here and there, but they've done a really nice job to bring those meetings to life, engage the players with questions. Really, really productive individual meetings, unit meetings, and then me and the staff also just keep cranking on different themes and aspects of the game. It could be looking at a 5 in the back, the pros, the cons. How do you structure the 5? Is it a 5-2-3? Is it a 5-4-1? Is it a 5-3-2? Is it a 3-4-3? Whatever it is, what do you call it? If you call it 5, do the 3 center backs think, oh, this is easy? I got 5 people to do the work of 4. What do you call it? A 3? So it's 3 to do the work of 4. Shifting, stepping out, all these little things. Again, for me to analyze, just good discussions with the staff, and how much then do we give to the players.
Coach, when you think of it, you said you don't necessarily talk to everybody each and every day. What's been the best way for you to communicate? Has it been the video like we're doing right now, or has it just been texting or picking up and doing an old-fashioned phone call just to check in with guys?
It's all those are happening. I hope with the right dosage and the right feel of that. But for me, the best way is this: to connect visually. I don't know if the players nowadays always love the video because they like text messaging and WhatsApp, and but still to see the faces. I mean, oftentimes when in a unit meeting, I'm there and I might miss a few clips, but I'm staring at the players' faces as a coach is talking, maybe Bradley Carnell or CJ Preston, and they're in the edge of their seat. They're engaged on the screen. I think they really love the connection. We all love team and what that represents, right? We all, maybe it's different levels, but we all really appreciate the beauty of team coming together. How can I play my role within a team? The idea of being on good teams, which you can rely on the guy left and right and center, like. There's still something really special about that in sport that I understand really well, and you guys both understand really well, and so do these guys in that locker room. So I think visually, the connection, seeing each other, like I'm going to do with Matthias today, it's going to be great to see him and see him smile. And there's for sure a reason I'm running that meeting today with him. I'm trying to really take steps forward and always thinking about the connection and developing trust.
Let's finish with this one. Chris, when you think of it, there has to be a trust factor in that guys are doing the right thing, right? When you think of, are you working out? Are you staying fit? Are you eating right? Are you taking care of your body? This is almost going to, with the assumption that at some point we'll be back on the field, this is almost going to be a separate offseason into another preseason before we get back to games. But right now for guys, probably the biggest thing would be trying to stay as fit as possible. What ways are you, the staff, Tony, the fitness staff, Ivan and the medical team, the training staff, trying to make sure that guys are healthy, staying fit, staying sharp?
It's a team effort. All of us on the staff are carrying our weight to ensure that that's happening. But we've had to take a step back a little bit. We started the whole process and building up to a certain date, thinking we might be playing, let's say May, at the end of May. And, we started periodizing and planning the week's workloads, thinking let's build up and try to replicate some of the normal week's workloads. And the players are working out with the fitness app so we can see they're sending screenshots. We know how much they're doing. Then Tony and our fitness team, they put together the workloads, and you can see based on, each day. And then for the week, then you can compare it to the weeks leading up to the first two games, the 3 games of the year. It was the Cincinnati, Salt Lake, and then what would have been the Minnesota game. So when you see it in a bar graph, let's say 30 kilometers covered in a week, week 1, then it maybe 28. Then all of a sudden, the first 2 weeks of quarantine were right there. You say, these guys are incredible. The staff are making sure this is going on, and there's a culture of just a realness in this team. And I've talked about that. I've talked about that early on in this year, a togetherness, a realness. This is really important for me and us. And then to see that the guys are going out to fields or running in the street or doing this or at-home workouts, covering ground and replicating a normal week's worth of work, to say, these guys are committed. They're all in, all of them. And that's been really cool to see. So, yeah, we've had to now take a step back because this might not happen until June, July, or August even. So we don't need guys hitting – like on a Friday, trying to replicate a 90-minute performance. Could you imagine going to the field, Jolley, some of those circuits we used to do, go here, go there, go here, go there, and, sprint through the cones, sprint there, leave the ball, sprint across, jog back, zigzag, repeat that 9 times. Like imagine you're trying to replicate a game load, and then all of a sudden they do, and you're like, you look at the fitness data, you're like, these guys are incredible. So now we had to take a little bit of a step back.
Yeah.
It might be some weeks where you give the guys a few more days off. It might be you have to take a step back because we can't. This thing could go longer. It can go into December or January. We don't know exactly, but we don't want to wear the guys down mentally and even physically running on concrete and different things.
Yeah. You've spoken eloquently about the unknown, or at least the appreciation for the team concept. What I kind of would like to know is, because there's so many unknowns, and you've kind of alluded to it, we don't know when we're going to get back. How do you keep, the team and also individually, every single player, fresh and understand that they have an individual responsibility, not only to themselves, but to the team to be actively engaged right now and making sure that they're fit, making sure that they're, positive and constructive, and they're doing smart things relative to, social media and everything like that. But also, I think that the team has done an exceptional job, the front office staff with, virtual appearances, trying to keep the fans engaged. And because I think we're all kind of, biting at the aspect of, hey, we all want to be back at Red Bull Arena. We all want to be supporting the team. We all want to see you guys play. But how do you keep it positive when there's so many unknowns right now?
Honestly, it's a good question, and it's an everyday thing. It's not like you're thinking about the guys one day and you forget about them the next. I'm constantly looking at the moods of the team and their fitness app they fill out, and then all of a sudden you see a couple of guys low on the mood. You check in. It might just be that check-in. And then it's with the staff saying, for checking in on the staff, how you guys doing, how the families, all that. But hey, listen, guys, let's make sure we're checking in, not just let's kind of just throw it out there. Let me know who we're checking in with, so we're covering the entire roster. And then again, engaging them a few times a week by the end of a week, they would have seen each other like 3 times a week on some of these virtual workouts. I'm always popping in on those, right? At the beginning, I might have a meeting coming up that I have to get off that call, but I see them. I'll say, hey, Aaron, what's up, man? Hey, they hear the voice. They see it. I've had some individual meetings, even separately with like an Aaron Long, me and him, showing him some cool footage of some high-level games, 5 in the back, talking about the demands. And he's, after an hour, I'm like, listen, Aaron, it's an hour. You're good? He's like, Chris, it's amazing. I love it. Thank you so much. If we go to this 5 in the back, I'm all in. I will spread this message. I'm really clear on that, Chris. Thank you for providing that footage. It's again, those individual meetings, the group meetings, it's a big effort. But the players are always on my mind and the staff's mind. It's the most important thing at the club is the players. So we have to make sure they know we care and that we're keeping them engaged. And Sean Davis has been really, really, you learn a lot about people in tough times, and he has stepped up, checking in with guys, organizing little activities. He did a little coffee chat with them, like 3 guys like this, and I we talked about it a little bit, and then I said, you run with this, and you need my help, you let me know. He organized everything. He made the groups of 3. Wasn't like, his 3 best friends. It was scattered. And like this, they hung out for a little while, and they had to take a screenshot of it, sent it to the group. I mean, amazing, these guys. And when that came back to me, I realized, again, they're people. They love the connection. They love the team. They're like big kids. Aaron Long you have this thing where he's painting his face on the picture. Like they have these little tools that they can do that with. And then you see like Christian Cáceres, Kaku, and Omir Fernandez in their picture. And you realize, Chris, remember, they're young from different countries. This guy's living alone. Kaku's got a young family. It's all on his shoulders. Say, holy shit, let me check in with Kaku again. And then, I'm speaking to him on the WhatsApp in Spanish with my Google Translate, trying to survive with the Spanish a little bit. It's really important. But Joll, that's an everyday thing. And the last part of that is, honestly, guys, when we hear the messages from Europe, the global Red Bull, that they say, guys, to mark the Grand Prix and let everyone know we are going to take care of the people. Don't worry about, now, of course, the budgets, you have to talk about that stuff and you have to be mindful, especially now, but that becomes secondary. Make sure you worry about the people, and that we've been able to all operate with confidence and that they're looking after us and that they care about that. It's a big statement. When I spoke to the academy, hundreds of players the other day on one of these calls and their parents, and if anyone were listening, and all of the coaches, it's the second thing I talked about. The first thing was something else, but it was so much about that the New York Red Bull, that door it's a hard door to get into. And you should feel fortunate to be at this club. And I'm telling you that with confidence, because it's in tough times you find a lot about yourself. You really find out, and the way our club has responded and marked the Grand Prix, I mean, every day checking in with the staff, morning and evening. He goes, I'll over communicate. He's making sure that the people are taken care of. He's making sure that we are connected. He's making sure that we're doing lots of activities, that we stay connected, and the mental health of everyone and the spirit is high. The challenge is we have to keep it up, and it might dip here and there, but man, here we are, a month, 3 weeks, month, like The energy is strong. It's high. And then it's important that when Mark speaks, he's coming with the energy. When I'm speaking to the organization on one of those calls, I'm bringing the positivity. I'm bringing a realness that I'm trying to be gasoline on the fire inside of everyone. So when people hang up that chat or that video, they say, yes. And that's what I told everyone. Where I'm getting energy from is the players and all of you. When I look at the bottom left-hand corner of that chat and see 160 people are on that, 160 strong, seeing people's faces, that gives me a lot of energy. And seeing the guys gives me lots of energy and real purpose every day.
Well, hopefully we'll be able to do this again. I think there's still a lot for us to talk about. But, Coach, I know you've got some meetings later on this morning, so we will let you go. Definitely appreciate you hopping on with us. And bringing the energy as you always do. Jolley, you've got at least a week maybe before we do this, or 2 weeks. I'd like to see you get to level 3 if that's possible.
I'll do my best. But can you imagine how much energy seeing our faces, Matt, that we bring to Chris? This must take it to another level for Mr. Armas here.
You know he's going to have
You're welcome, buddy. We're here for you.
If there's such a thing as a good day in the quarantine, we've just created that situation.
I started with the coffee, and I don't need the caffeine. I'm drinking water after talking to you guys.
There you go. You're welcome.
Coach, appreciate it so much. We'll look forward to doing this again. Be well, safe, and the best to the family and the rest of the staff and players and everybody else.
Appreciate you guys. Stay safe, guys. Stay strong. All the listeners as well. Take care.